Hello and welcome to our 2019 MSW Program Info Session webinar. My name is Dr. Minnick and I will be moderating today's discussion and we'll do some introductions here for our students and faculty members that are here with me.
I'm Shannon Staten. I'm the Director of Field Education, so that means that I help coordinate all things related to practicum placements for our students.
I'm Greta Slater. I'm the director of the MSW program, and also we want to give a shout out to Kristen Trainer, who is a faculty member in the MSW program. She's handling the chat questions in the background.
Hi, I'm Terry Palladino. I'm a graduate student in the MSW program.
I'm Sohi Park, and I'm also an MSW student.
Yes, and for those of you watching at home, Dr. Trainer will be taking questions and we'll be answering any questions that you might have here at the end of our webinar. So let's go ahead and get started. Shannon, can you tell us what some career options are that are open to people with an MSW degree?
Sure. So a BSW degree, our undergraduate degree, is a generalist degree. The MSW degree is an advanced generalist. So we're excited that with the MSW degree, our students have the opportunity for practicum placements and employment in a wide variety of settings. Just like our undergraduate students, you can go in so many different directions as far as types of settings and populations you can work with. The MSW degree is going to open up options with schools. We're definitely seeing a trend toward, at least in our region, for schools, hospitals, the VA, and then clinical practice opportunities. All of those, they're really pushing towards needing the MSW degree in order to practice in those settings. But also we see private practice, clinical opportunities, community mental health centers, addiction treatment facilities, including like intensive outpatient, inpatient facilities. Department, we have some acronyms on our screen, but DCS, Department of Child Services for our graduates as well, Veterans Affairs I'd already mentioned, area agencies on aging, foster care, nonprofit management. So like I said, many different directions all the way from micro to macro placement. So
Pretty much anywhere there are people.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So is a licensure required for any of these positions?
Yes. So per Indiana code, you really, in order to call yourself a social worker, you need to have one of our types of license available in the state. So an LBSW would be what our undergraduate, our BSW students are pursuing. But we see that in addition to the Indiana code requiring that you need a licensure, that lots of employers and agencies are wanting that. I mean, they're wanting it for billable purposes, for credentialing, and also too to verify that you are competent, that you're ethical, that you're practicing within the scope that you're supposed to be practicing within. So we're really excited because, and you can mention HLC, but then we can talk a little bit about LCSW and LCAC.
Sure, yeah. And also there's huge job growth that's happening right now. So our program really focuses on those main areas where there's going to be potential growth for jobs. We looked just this week to see what jobs are available, and there are 2,200 in LinkedIn and 400 right now waiting for people. And so Indiana really has kind of a shortage of MSW level social workers.
I feel that.
Absolutely. And we're really hitting health, gerontology, and addictions because those are really the needs right now in terms of job growth. But then in terms of the LCAC and LCSW, those positions, you can get an LSW immediately after graduation,
Right.
But you need to sit for, you need to practice for 3,000 hours, 2 years full-time. Under the supervision of an LCSW in order to sit for the Licensed Clinical Social Worker exam. Same thing with the Licensed Clinical Addictions Counselor. So it's one of the unique features of our program that everyone in our curriculum will get that addictions content, which is so needed because of the opioid crisis.
The only thing that students have to do if they're wanting to pursue the LCAC, Licensed Clinical Addiction Counselor, then we have to make sure that we're thinking ahead as far as their practicum placement, because their advanced placement, those 2 semesters need to be in an addiction treatment facility if they want to pursue the LCAC.
Right, absolutely. So a lot of students ask, are you accredited by the Council on Social Work Education? And we are actually accredited by the Higher Learning Commission, which is our regional accrediting body. So that's, kind of the Midwest area, and then the Council on Social Work Education. That's the one that we all are really needing. Is that we're in pre-candidacy stage. So we have already had our site visit. We submitted about 1,000 pages of stuff to CSWE. We had our site visit in October. It went well,
Great.
and they're set to meet to review our agenda in February, and then after that meeting, all things going well, we will be considered a candidate program. So the licensure in Indiana requires that you graduate from an accredited program or one who's been approved for candidacy. So even the students who are in our advanced standing full-time program, they will graduate in July of 2020, and hopefully, we will have our accreditation before that, so it will go retroactive to the beginning. So it's a legitimate question, and one that we care about as well. We need to have that accreditation, and we are doing everything that we can to do that. Also, we have really for 45 years been continuously accredited for our undergraduate program. So we're as confident as we can be that we will get that accreditation.
Made a couple trips out to Washington, D.C., several faculty to make sure that went through the CSWE candidacy training. We have leaned on and worked closely with our liaisons at CSWE, so we're feeling very optimistic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the people that are wanting to pursue their LCSW, they're looking at the earliest they could sit for that exam would be July 2022, and at that point we'll be through candidacy and fully accredited, so we're excited.
Yeah.
Excellent. So switching gears a little bit, Greta, can you talk about what makes Ball State's MSW program special?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, we could do this all day. We feel like we have a really good program and one of the best in the state. We'll just put that out there. But we have a rural focus, and so we have what's called an advanced generalist. So a lot of other programs have tracks. Ours is most programs have tracks, but ours is an advanced generalist, so we're really focusing kind of split between the clinical addictions and the leadership, management, budgeting, finance, HR, kind of running the nonprofit end. Really, people in rural communities need to be jack of all trades, so they have to be able to do the clinical work and also run the business. I was actually joking with a student recently that we have actually set up the program really ideally for private practice. That wasn't necessarily our intention, but we're getting the clinical addictions piece plus running the business as well. So we feel like it's a really big advantage of our program. We also have no time limit for the advanced standing program. So many programs across the country, most have a 5-year rule. 5 years. So if you have your BSW, you have to do your MSW within 5 years. And it's so common, we thought it was an accreditation rule. So once we learned it wasn't, of course we want that practice experience in our classroom. So we're really excited about that. The only caveat is if someone has been out of education for more than 5 years, both for the traditional standing or the advanced standing program, they have to do a research stats refresher, which many students aren't thrilled about, but it's a supportive class where
and it's going to help them get ready for the next 2 stats classes.
Absolutely.
So making sure that they're ready for those.
We also have brand new state-of-the-art facilities. We are super proud of those. We have a brand new $62 million building that just opened in July. We have simulation labs on the 3rd and 4th floor, kind of set up almost like a hospital where they have these really high-tech mannequins that can, the nursing students can draw blood, deliver babies. Our students will not be doing any of that, but they can do the psychosocial assessments. And so it's really a good opportunity to do interprofessional education with all of the other departments in our college. So we have health professions in our college, including nursing, speech language pathology, public health, nutrition, dietetics, exercise science, military science, kinesiology. I think that's all of them. Anyway, yeah. Also, we have what we feel are really convenient blended classes. So we really are targeting people who are working. So all of our classes are on Tuesday evenings, even for full-time students. And our classes alternate between 1 week it's face-to-face, and they do online work in Canvas. And the next week they switch to do a different class face-to-face and then work in Canvas. So it's kind of like we get 2 classes for the price of one.
One time slot.
One time slot on Tuesday evenings. So it's also helpful for people to be able to plan ahead and tell their supervisor, okay, I know I need Tuesday afternoon, evenings off for the next 2 years as I finish.
Right.
So.
All of the classes are between 4 and 10 p.m. on Tuesday evenings.
Yep.
So that's set.
Absolutely. And the last advantage, we really feel like we know our students. So we're very engaged in terms of faculty members. We know our students and you're not going to be a number at Ball State. So we value that part of our program.
Yeah, we've definitely heard that. I mean, and that's the feel, always has been in our BSW program. Again, 45 years continuous accreditation in our undergrad program. And that's the feedback we've got from our students, and we definitely wanted the same atmosphere and culture in our graduate program where it's a family supportive with your peers, but also with faculty. And I think we're getting that.
Absolutely.
Excellent, excellent. So Terry and Sohee, can you all talk a little bit about why you chose Ball State for your graduate work?
You bet.
Well, I did get a BSW from Ball State, so I was, had relationships with the faculty, and I, appreciated that about them. And so I, wanted to pursue an MSW at Ball State. And I'm advanced standing, so full-time, which means I get done in 12 months.
3 semesters.
And that is just, kind of hard to beat, giving up a year and dedicating it towards school and then having an MSW. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm a traditional standing student. I also attended Ball State for my undergraduate degree, not in social work. I have a degree in urban planning. So coming to Ball State was kind of a natural choice for me because it's familiar. It has such a convenient arrangement of the classes that making it fit into my schedule just really fit for me and my life. And also coming in, not having that social work background, I felt reassured that it was set up to be doable for me, that I could come in and it would be a good fit.
yeah, great.
Excellent. So are there any specific factors that influenced your decision to come to Ball State and engage in the MSW program here?
Well, one factor was that since I'm a GA here, a graduate assistant, and that really makes a difference financially. And it's another learning opportunity outside of the classroom even to kind of apply some of the things that we learn in the classroom. So, I mean, that was a huge factor. And knowing when your classes are, Tuesday nights, being able to kind of dedicate that to, when you're in class, makes it really convenient to fit in, family and, all the other things that people have going on.
Sure.
Yeah, I would say the graduate assistantship made a big difference for me as well as far as financing, paying for the program. That and the scheduling and the familiarity were all factors for me.
Excellent. So moving back, Greta, what options do students have for completing the degree, and how long do those options take to finish?
Absolutely. So we have the advanced standing program, so he talked about that, and the full-time program takes 1 year, so 3 semesters. All of our students graduate in the summer, so we thought it'd be best if people can, get it all the way through and not, do it as fast as possible, right? So all of our students graduate in the summer. So full-time advanced standing is the fastest option. That's for people who have a bachelor's in social work already from an accredited program in social work. And then we also have the part-time option, which is 2 years. So again, fall, spring, summer, graduate the summer of that second year. Traditional standing is a 57 credit hour program, and we get you up to speed with what people cover basically in the senior year of the BSW. And that we accept any undergraduate degree. And the full-time option is 2 years, and the part-time option is 3 years. So the full-time, they're taking about 12 credits a semester. The part-time, they take just 6, so 2 classes. There's 1 semester where they have to take 3, but that saves an entire year of stretching the program out. So we thought that probably is doable. So there's 1 semester with 9 hours, but all the others are 6. So yeah, it's a pretty great option, I mean, in terms of finishing the program pretty quickly. Yeah.
So in thinking about completing the program, Shannon, what are some courses that students will take while they're
It's pretty much prescribed, and so there isn't a lot because we don't have the concentrations or tracks. Everyone really is pretty much getting the same coursework with the exception of the electives they can choose from. So they will have a few options there. But as we mentioned, it is rural practice focused, so we have several rural classes. We have a diversity, oppression, and privilege class, and then we have a lot of clinical skills, therapeutic skills classes, addiction content, and then also the management and leadership content. And so you'll see 6 classes that are in clinical and addiction content, and the management and leadership administration. And then stats research classes, we have a few of those. The field or practicum classes, it has 3 on the slide, but we can talk a little bit more about practicum if you want. It really ends up being 2 semesters if you're advanced standing and 3 semesters if you're a traditional student for the practicum or field classes, and then electives as well. So.
That's really where it gets challenging, honestly. I mean, just in terms of finishing the program is when you have to do those practicum hours. That's when it starts to get challenging, especially if you're working full-time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes. So that's definitely a question. Practicum, I think it's a good idea for us to chat a little bit about that. So if you're, like I said, traditional, then your first practicum is going to be 350 hours that semester, and that would be similar to what our advanced standing students experience the senior year of their undergraduate social work degree. And so that's where they're still getting a generalist experience. 350 hours at an agency. We definitely walk alongside all of our students planning all of these placements, whether it's the traditional placement or the advanced placement. It's not something where you're cold calling or going out on your own to negotiate those placements. We have a very thoughtful discussion about student ideas, my ideas, our experience thus far with agencies, who we've had partnerships with. We build new partnerships with agencies all the time. And so we definitely want the students to feel like they're making an informed decision, and also that we are very comfortable with the learning experience that they're going to get. And then the advanced placement, that's 2 semesters, a total of 700 clock hours at the same agency, but spread out over 2 semesters. And that's the advanced where they are going to get clinical and some level of leadership and admin experience as well. We want to make sure that they're getting good practice content there. So yeah, it totals out if they're doing the 3 semesters over 1,000 hours, 1,050 hours of practicum experience. I'd already mentioned that if they're wanting to pursue the LCAC, then they need to think ahead about making sure we're getting addiction treatment coverage during their advanced placement. Other than that, questions that we get from students a lot is, can I still work full time? Will it be paid? It does get very tricky to still work full-time and do a practicum, because we're talking about, in order to get those 350 hours, somewhere between 22 to 32 hours a week on top of working full-time, getting some sleep in there, being healthy, and any other outside commitments. And so we always encourage people to think about dropping down to part-time if possible, or looking at your various options those couple of semesters to make it healthy and successful.
We get asked too a lot about employment-based
Right.
practicum as
Right.
well, and how that works.
Right. So employment-based, a couple things have to happen per our accrediting body, which really makes sense. One is you've got to have a different supervisor. If you've already been employed somewhere, then we need to make sure that there's a relationship where they're treating you as a student versus an employee, and so you have to switch supervisors. And the other is that you have to completely switch your role, because this needs to be a learning experience. And so it kind of depends on the agency, how big they are. Larger organizations, they can sometimes work with you. Okay, we're going to totally move you to a different department, different role, different supervisor for the practicum part of your hours. And then paid practicum, we just can't make any guarantees. So I don't ever want to falsely promise that social work practicum experiences are going to be paid. At our undergrad, they typically are not. For MSW practicum, we are seeing that more employers are willing to incentivize you to go there for practicum, hopefully stay on for employment afterwards. And so they might do things like stipends, mileage reimbursement if you're doing a lot of home-based work or community work. They might do, partial pay where they're paying, a number of your hours but not all. And so it's possible, it's just there aren't any guarantees. So when you're making those decisions, thinking about whether or not this is the right time for you to do the MSW program, want to make sure that finances are situated so you're going to feel good about it.
which is a great segue to our next question.
Which is, so Greta, what is the process for applying to Ball State, and what are the requirements for the MSW program?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we have a new process in Slate. So it's actually a all-one seamless process, which is nice. Last year we had kind of a two system where you do apply to the grad school and then also to the MSW program. But now you just apply to the MSW program, fill out, do an account, set up an account and a password, complete that application, answer those questions. One question I'm getting already from students who are looking to apply, there's really only one semester that you can apply, and that's summer of 2020. And we do that because of the prerequisite for folks who've been out longer than 5 years. So that is quite a few people in our program have to actually do that research methods and stats class ahead of time. So everyone, we want to make sure everyone's accepted by that summer so that they can enroll in the summer. So I know that that's confusing sometimes. We've already accepted our first student, so that's great. And applications are live now. So what you need to do is also submit your unofficial transcripts. Students need to submit those and also check with your references ahead of time to make sure that they are ready and willing to give you a good reference. We just need to put down the person who's applying just needs to put down the references' names and email addresses. They don't actually need to get the letters from them. There will be a link that's sent out to those references so that we have that secure information from them. Students need to sign a waiver that it's, if they choose to, or they can review the materials that somebody has submitted as well. So then also pay the graduate school fee, but if you're watching this info session, you get to have a waiver of the $60 fee if you attend and are registered for an info session. So that's a plus side. And then we have several products that people have to upload in terms of Word documents. So they need to apply by sending in the references or the resume, their academic writing sample, and their personal narrative. We do have some specific requirements for our program, which is a 3.0 GPA. They need to upload those documents, and also we have a priority deadline. So if anyone is interested in applying for scholarships, the GA positions, graduate assistantships, or the Department of Child Services 4E scholarship, they need to apply by February 1st. We're not going to wait that long to review those applications. Like I said, we've already admitted one student for fall of 20, and we really are pretty quick with reviewing those applications. Generally, after the application is complete, we usually it's been about 2 weeks we've let people know. So it's very quick. So we're not waiting until the deadline to let people know whether they're in or not. And also the Child Welfare Scholarship, I want to talk about that real quick. Those are for people who are already employed at Department of Child Services, and there's a specific process for that. So we want to make sure we have those students accepted in order so that they can apply for that scholarship in March.
And then I don't think we mentioned that we don't require the GRE. That's
That's
always
right.
something that...
That's right, absolutely. Yeah, we don't require the GRE, so that's a plus side. The GRE is kind of a pain, so yeah.
And an April 1st deadline for everyone else. So if you're not going to be pursuing graduate assistantship or scholarship, then
That's
by
our
April 1st,
Drop
will be our
dead
cutoff.
deadline is April 1st. Yep.
Gotcha. So how do students typically pay for graduate school?
Sure. So there are lots of options. We have 2 examples here of graduate assistantships. Those, it's really easy to apply. So on your application, you just need to check the box that says you're interested in the GA position. Last year, I think we had around 30 who were interested in a GA position. We narrowed it down, looked at writing sample, we looked at their research experiences, their other kinds of leadership experiences, their resume, and then narrowed it down to about 10 that we brought in for interviews. So the plus side is there's nothing extra that you have to do in terms of your application for a GA. Just the interview once we screen those, and that's usually around, it was early March last year. There's a national deadline of April 15, so we want people to be able to know what options they have available from us in order to weigh those options for all of their graduate program, all the programs they get into. So April 15 is that deadline for everyone to be able to know and then make a decision. So we will have all those decisions usually by mid to end of March.
For RGAs.
For
but it's
RGAs.
also important
right.
to note that there are GA opportunities across the university, and so there are a lot of units that have GA opportunities. And so even if it's not one of our 5 to 10 GA possibilities next year, then you could pursue a GA position elsewhere in the university.
Absolutely. I think we probably have 3 or 4 who are GAs in other departments. So really almost any program that has a graduate program, they have graduate assistants. So you can find those on Cardinal Career Link. The other thing that you can do to help pay is, student employment. So again,
Absolutely.
Cardinal Career
Plenty
Link,
of
we're going to
jobs.
hit that career services link hard. There are lots of opportunities for jobs there. So also we talked about employment-based practicum, and sometimes there is tuition remission for employers. We always encourage students to ask.
It does
You
not
never
hurt.
know if
And
maybe
then
they'll
we do
pay
the happy
$200
dance.
for books.
If it's a yes, we're like,
Exactly.
all right, I'll make note of that.
Right. The Department of Child Services also has a really great scholarship, but that is really for people who are already employees, who have been working there for a while. We have 4 who are 4E scholars in the MSW program this year, and I think their average years of experience range from 3 to 10 years. So it's something that you can't just get a job and get the scholarship. You have to, they want to see that you're really working
to the
toward
agency.
long-term staying at the agency. The contact person for that 4E scholarship is LaDonna Watley at Indiana University. So if you just, Google, look up LaDonna Watley, and you can get some more information
more
from
about
her
4E.
specifically about 4E. There also are lots of loan forgiveness programs for rural and for addiction. So that's a really new area that we're excited about. So students can hopefully get some loan forgiveness, and then also military benefits. So those are some other ways that people can pay for it, but it is a challenge.
And then
we
savings
understand that.
and scrimping it.
Right. Eating ramen, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So Sohi, can you talk a little bit about your experience in the MSW program and maybe what a typical day looks like for you?
It's my experience so far has, been great. Since I'm advanced standing, we started talking about my practicum placement at orientation, and that's been set up already, and I'm not even done with the first semester. It goes by really fast, and a typical day, I guess, is really I do some GA hours, usually at home on my computer, and then do a lot of reading.
Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, a lot of reading and assignments. One nice thing is that, a lot of the readings are set up to accommodate, different types of learning. So you can, be doing other stuff and listening to, even the textbook, really. But, I've gotten to know a lot of the other students because, we're in a lot of the same classes. And so that has been really nice to be partially in person because you actually, develop relationships with other students who have tons of experience in lots of different agencies. So I've, had a really great experience so far.
Great. So Terry, what has your experience been like in the MSW program?
I would kind of echo a lot of what Sohi said, but like we mentioned before, I'm coming from a little different perspective. I am a full-time student, a traditional standing student, so I am taking more of the introductory courses that she has already been exposed to. But I'm on campus usually 2 days a week. I do commute from about an hour away. I'm here to do my GA hours. I'm able to do some homework while I'm here, and then on my off days I do a lot of reading as well. So, but the alternating class schedule with the in-class and online, I don't know if we hit that too much yet. It's working out really nicely to be able to do things online and then still get the interaction in class.
Right. And you can, since the online content is asynchronous, it's any time in that week kind of
Right.
you
do
can
it when
work
it's
it out.
convenient, right? And that's very accommodating for pretty much any schedule that you can
Yeah.
do that work when it is convenient for you, which is nice.
Excellent. So I was hoping both of y'all could talk a little bit about the classes that you've taken and really what your relationships have been like with the faculty members in the MSW program.
Well, this semester I'm taking 5 classes.
Busy, busy.
Yes,
Both of you.
and one surprise for me has been how much the rural component has not only just been interesting, but really helpful for my perspective. I hadn't anticipated that, really. So there's like a rural class, a research class, a diversity class, and then 2 practice classes.
Advanced clinical skills, I think,
And
probably you're taking that.
Yeah, and I mean, all the faculty is so supportive, and I have had, you know, they're so responsive too. A lot of the, you know, students, you know, will ask questions, and the faculty has been available to answer on email or, you know, in person. I mean, my experience has just been like, you know, really good.
Good. We're glad.
Yeah, I've had a similar experience as well. I'm taking 4 classes this semester on the alternating schedule, and I've just had a very similar experience with professors being very approachable on a first name basis, which is always nice. You know, very encouraging and supportive as for someone who's been out of school for 25 years, coming back in and, you know, being encouraged that it's going to work out.
And that's our intention. I mean, we really want people to be able to come in after an absence in school and be able to feel like, oh yeah, I can do this graduate work. There is an adjustment period, but I think, you know, really having that balance, you know, evening classes and just the emphasis on having that experience, that's really important to us. So, yeah. Glad to hear it's working out.
Yes. Good.
So far, so good.
Right.
Great. So what are some things that potential students can do to make their application stand out when they apply to the program?
Absolutely. So, you know, we really want to make sure that people are editing
Correct.
all of their
Proof.
written
Thoroughly
documents.
proofread.
They're proofreading. They are editing it well. They're looking for, you know, formal language where it's warranted. In the narrative, you know, that's a little bit more casual, but we're really, really looking for, you know, APA on the research piece, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But we're really looking for those, you know, making sure it's well edited,
Right.
have somebody else read it, looking, you know, avoiding some of that casual language and jargon. We're really looking for people to highlight their research skills if they have some, leadership skills, their practice background, you know, what things, why they chose Ball State specifically.
Absolutely. We want to be able to see that we're getting the feeling that they're going to be successful in this program.
Absolutely.
And so I think that we've mentioned tone before when we've talked about this with potential applicants, just making sure that it comes across that this really is your priority and your first intention versus, hey, I'm thinking about clinical psych, counseling psych, social work, maybe just kind of throwing it all out there. I mean, the tone needs to be, this is really what I'm going after, and I'm driven and intentional about it. So.
And why our program specifically? I mean, there are other
Right.
options. So we're curious to see, you know, why did you choose Ball State
Right.
specifically? So that's important. You know, one of the things that we really care about, and is very, very important to us, is that we're protecting the public. Ultimately, we are concerned about ethical practice. We want students who are going to be ready to be, you know, therapists in many cases. So we want to make sure that students are really paying attention to that professionalism, that, you know, they're showing that they're going to be a good role model and leader out in the community. So that's what we're listening for also in the application.
Healthy boundaries, healthy functioning, you're, you know, ready to be successful.
Absolutely.
So what can people do now if they want to start the application process?
Yeah, so we can check out our website. We actually have, you can apply now. The application is live. You can get on our mailing list. The address is on our PowerPoint. You can schedule a campus visit and, you know, just prepare your application and send it in right away. Again, like we said, we're kind of doing rolling admissions until, you know, we have our class filled, and we won't wait until that February 1st deadline. But we will have a big batch that comes in February. So, you know, if you're on ball, you can apply early and find out right away.
And we're open to, you know, any email questions our way coming in. We have had some applicants that have decided to come visit campus. We're thrilled with that. Also, too, we needed to mention a little bit more about the application as far as the the APA for the academic writing or research paper, and then the personal narrative. Just kind of what we're looking for there.
Absolutely, yeah. So for the personal narrative, that's a 500 to 700 word, basically an essay, right? So it's your voice.
Interview, your voice.
Absolutely, your story. So looking at career goals, looking at their research experience or leadership experience. If you have had a GPA that's less than 3.0, that's where you explain it to us in that personal narrative. You don't have to follow APA formatting. That was really just kind of telling us who you are and why you chose Ball State.
Right.
Then in terms of the academic writing sample, that's the one that takes a little more work. Yeah, that's a research paper. So that's 1,000 to 1,500 words, and really focused on basically a research paper. So there are 6 prompts that students can choose from, or applicants can choose from, really focusing on all the areas that we cover in our program. So those are also on your screen. But so what are the primary challenges and rewards of working in rural communities? Number 2 that you can choose from, what are the main ethical dilemmas and safeguards for working with people in active addiction? The 3rd choice is what micro and macro issues surrounding healthcare in the United States, you know, that really simple thing to solve. And the 4th is what are the causes and consequences of the disproportionate number of children of color in the foster care and child welfare system? 5th choice, what are the top challenges and solutions for working with elders aging in place? And the last choice is what primary opportunities and threats are facing nonprofit and community development leaders. So we know they're tough questions, but that's what we're looking for. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we have 6 different options, so pick the one that you know, speaks to you, and write a research paper. And we definitely want to give the tip that you need to include professional literature. So that's definitely something that
peer-reviewed journal articles.
Right. Yep. And so any questions that you have about open access materials, so that you can get to peer-reviewed journal articles, if you're not already connected to, let's say, a university library, send us an email. We will give you some suggestions, but we do want to see professional literature integrated.
Absolutely.
Excellent. I think y'all have done an excellent job covering some of the points that make the program special, everything from the flexibility of the program and the responsiveness of the faculty members to the great experiences that our students have had so far. So now we have some questions from the audience, with the first being, do you offer an online program option?
We do not. So our program is all hybrid, right? So it does require that you come to campus. And for international students, this is actually a really important thing. It's one of the requirements that international programs actually you have to have a face-to-face program. So we do welcome international applicants, and we don't offer a purely online option. So all of our classes are blended, so they alternate between face-to-face and online within the same class. But yeah, unfortunately, we do not. We want to see students. And we really feel like that's the best option for teaching those clinical skills.
Still flexibility, but the face-to-face.
Absolutely, right.
Important to us.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So another question, what is the class schedule like for full-time and part-time students?
Okay, yeah. So I mean, I think Sohi and Terry talked about this just a little bit. Full-time students for the advanced standing take 4 or 5 classes a semester. The full-time full-time traditional standing take 4 classes a semester. The part-time students take 2, both in the traditional and the advanced standing option. So they can also, start full-time and switch over to part-time if it gets to be too much.
We've had a few students do that.
We absolutely
even this
have.
Year, where, and that's really just a matter of talking to Greta and making sure, advising wise, that you know how you're going to adjust to switch to full-time and ramp it up, or slow it down and go to part-time.
Sure.
Which is
and
great.
We don't offer every class every semester, so that is a factor. So sometimes if you decide to slow down, then it might get you out of the kind of the sync of how the classes are offered, but it's totally, it's workable for sure. Yeah.
We'll see. Well, next question is, your program focuses on rural practice, but how does that apply for students who might want to work in an urban environment?
Absolutely. We get this question sometimes. So, we really feel like working in a rural environment
set
is a specific skill set. For example, I was a clinical social worker in a rural community, and we had one grocery store, right? So I would always talk with clients at the beginning, if I see you at the grocery store, I'm going to take my cue from you. If you say, hi, Greta, then I would gladly say hi back. But if you don't want to explain who I am, you don't need to. Those kind of skills, like understanding how dual relationships, how that rural community functions is a big emphasis in our program. I would argue that that can still translate to urban practice because, you still need to maintain confidentiality. They're just a specific skill set that is rural community. So I think for the student that asked that question about, working in the city, you absolutely can work in the city with this focus on rural.
Right, and so he mentioned when we've talked before, remember you'd said even if you plan to practice primarily in Indianapolis, that you're excited to have that knowledge because you're going to have patients and clients and people that come into your organizations that are coming from rural communities or that have their identity or their background in rural communities. And so, still, again, that's going to be relevant and helpful, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Certainly. So another question, and I know that we touched on this some, so the program is going to be accredited by the CSWE, or the Council on Social Work Education, coming up. So students that are coming into the program will know about that when they're moving
Absolutely, yeah. So we had our site visit in the fall, and students were all involved in meeting the site visitor and talking with the site visitor. One thing that's kind of nice is the site visitor actually said, if I didn't know this was a new program, I would think it was 10 years old. So that was a plus side for us. We feel really confident that things are progressing as they need to, but it is a 3-year process, and we totally understand if students are nervous about that. But any students that are applying now, we will know by the time they apply, by the time classes start, we'll know if we're a candidate program. So that decision will happen in March. So really that's the main, I think, barrier for that, but it's a good question.
Gotcha. So one of our viewers says that they already have some graduate credits and wants to know if they'll transfer to the MSW program.
Right. So the question is it depends on what the program is. So if they're wanting to transfer in from another MSW program, so he transferred in some credits. So if they're transferring in from another MSW program that is accredited by the Council on Social Work Education, for the advanced standing we can transfer 9 credits, and for the full-time, for traditional standing we can, never mind. For traditional standing, if they have started some credits, then from an MSW, we can transfer 15. But any other program, unfortunately, because of our accreditation, classes have to be taught by an MSW. So, for example, if you have some classes in, counseling or something like that, we can't transfer any of those classes in, unfortunately. So, yeah, the only program we can really transfer other credits in are from another accredited MSW program.
Gotcha.
Good question.
So is a thesis required for the MSW program?
No. So you can do a happy dance, right?
You can do a happy dance. We do have a research requirement tied to the graduate school, and that class is our program evaluation class. All of our research classes, sometimes that's a thing that students worry about, just some apprehension about research methods and stats, but they're all very practical. We use Excel for doing the stats analysis because most agencies have Excel rather than SPSS, and all of our classes are really based on evaluating practice or evaluating programs. So we feel like it's really tailored to give specific skills that people need out in the job. So, yeah, so we don't require a thesis, but we do have research requirements for the graduate school.
Gotcha.
It's a good question also.
Excellent. All right, well, I would like to thank y'all for coming out and sharing a little bit about the MSW program. If our viewers would like some more information, the program is on Facebook. We also have a Twitter account at the hashtag BSUSWD, and you can reach us at the university email.
Absolutely. There are addresses, so feel free to email any of us, and we're happy to answer those questions.
Excellent. Well, yes, thank you.
Thanks,